This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Right, thank you, Rob, for giving me some food for thought. And that's exactly what I'm going to give to you guys. Remember, I'm Sporting Icons, not Dr. Icons. But you don't have to delve too far into it to do a little bit of research for yourself. Go on Google, and it's not difficult to find. It really isn't. So you have to take my word for it. Go have a look for yourself. It's not too difficult. Haters automatically, Sporting Icons is reaching. Sporting Icons is making up excuses. He didn't have a concussion. He just got exposed because he's a bum, etc., etc. Hey, listen, whatever gets you through your day, absolutely fine, no problem. But remember, haters, I am actually going to give you a name of somebody who noticed this right away. And it may actually change your mind. If it doesn't, then you have some real hate problems. You really do. Anyway, so what we do know about Anthony Joshua is that on fight week, he was doing some sparring. Anthony Joshua said it himself, that he was doing some sparring. He said this before the fight, okay? He wasn't making excuses after, okay? He said it before the fight that he let slip that he was doing some light sparring, okay? Now, that's not unheard of, but it's quite rare, especially when you are an elite athlete, an elite boxer. You tend to use that week for recovery, but Joshua didn't. He was actually sparring, okay? For whatever reason, last minute change of opponent, all that kind of thing. Who knows? Who knows what his reason was? So maybe he suffered a concussion in fight week. Now, what are the symptoms, the signs, the treatments, shall we say, for concussion? So what is a concussion? Well, it's a brain trauma, isn't it? Brain injury, severe shaking of the head, all that kind of thing. Boxers get concussions a fair bit of times, okay? Of course, because it's not always the fight itself that gives you concussion, it's the sparring. It's the sparring after sparring, it's the rounds after the rounds, etc. Okay, so many boxers will know this one straight away. Many fighters would have looked at Joshua before the fight and went, he's concussed. Now, some of these signs are fatigue, as in, if it's for yourself, it's fatigue. You're tired, you've got no energy, you can't sleep, you have slurred speech, no sarcasm, please, you lot, and many other things, headaches, sweats, indecision making, etc., etc. So what are the physical ones? Well, for anybody who's looking at somebody, you may notice that somebody looks a little bit different. Did Joshua look different fight week? I was pointing it out all week. I was saying there's something not quite right with Joshua, and I can't put my finger on it. No idea what it is. He looked drained in the face, but when he stepped onto the scales and he wasn't any lighter than usual, I thought, okay, so I have no idea. Maybe it was his haircut or something. I don't know what it was. But tiredness of the face, as in the eyes, looked very, very tired. Look back at Joshua for fight week. He looked tired. He looked very, very tired. Okay? So this could be one of the symptoms. Also, a lot of people were noticing a little mark on his left cheek. Reporters asked him about it. And Joshua even said, no, it was just some physiotherapy, just the usual kind of stuff. And when he was pressed on it, he started bumbling and switched up the subject on it. Okay, so why would he have that? So one of the things is that when many people are saying, well, it's a sparring injury, he got hit, he got bruised, whatever. Okay, but his whole cheek would have been that way, not just a mark, a circled mark on his cheek. So what causes that? Well, one of the treatments to help alleviate some of the pressures, etc., for concussion is acupuncture. And one of the pressure points for acupuncture for concussion, again, I didn't know this until I read it earlier on today, was acupuncture, as in the needles, into the cheekbone, depending on which side of the brain it is, how severe it is, etc. But one of them is the cheekbone. Obviously, there's other points in that as well, for some reason around the wrists and the hand, the back of the neck, the side of the head. Again, people were noticing that in the weigh-in, he was wearing headphones on top of his head. Usually he has them around his neck. I don't know. That may have just been pure coincidence, right? But there is that one, acupuncture, that caused an injury to the cheek. Well, of course, because there's not too much muscle there, is there? It's just a very, very light bit of muscle and then bone straight under, right? So maybe that is what caused it, some acupuncture, as he did say, physiotherapy. So there's that one. Also, whenever Joshua fights and the announcer is introducing him and the fighters while they're in the ring, they're doing the national anthems, all that kind of stuff, Joshua will pace around the corner of his own corner around his team and walk over to the other corner next to him, etc., and walk backwards and forwards. That's usually what Joshua does. In this one, he didn't. He stood very, very motionless in the corner, right pressed against the corner of the ropes, with a member of his team massaging the back of his neck. Again, this is one of the things to help alleviate some of the stresses and pains even of concussion, some of the dizziness and things like that. Massaging. And he had a massage virtually the entire time while he was stood there. So there's that one. Also, his punch resistance was absolutely terrible. Joshua has taken some big shots before, and listen, he gets wobbled, he goes backwards. Sometimes he just takes them and just walks on forward. But his punch resistance was terrible. He was flat-footed outside the first 30 seconds when he was bouncing. Again, I think that he was bouncing just to try and make it look like he had like a lot of energy. But he just didn't. People noticed after the first round, he was starting to gas. After one round. Again, what are the symptoms of concussion? Fatigue, tiredness, right? Weakness. He gassed very early. Maybe that was one of them. But his punch resistance was terrible. His decision making was terrible. He didn't know how to cope with Andy Ruiz. He didn't know how to set up the jab. He didn't know how to do any of that kind of thing outside of the first round. And of course, every time that Joshua got hit, he got wobbled. He went into like a shell and ended up taking a knee. Some people say maybe that's why he quit. If he did quit, because he did spit his gum shield out on the floor. Many people noticed it. I noticed it straight away. That he deliberately spat it out on the floor after he got dropped in the fourth time when he walked over to the corner and the referee was doing his standard 8 count, told him to walk forward, and Joshua was looking at his team and whatever and not doing what the referee asked. That's why the referee stopped, even though Joshua looked okay, didn't he? So maybe that was one of them. He just didn't know how to make the decision. He didn't know what to do. Maybe he was panicking. He knew he couldn't recover from any of this due to the concussion coming up to the fight. Listen, I don't take anything away from Andy Ruiz Jr. Not at all. Who knows? Maybe Andy Ruiz Jr. would have beaten the hell out of him anyway, right? But that is another one. After the fight, Anthony Joshua's dad was going at Eddie Hearn. Why would he possibly do that? I did a video on it yesterday. So if Joshua was concussed, is it possible that Eddie Hearn talked Joshua into taking the fight anyway, saying, oh, come on, it's only Andy Ruiz Jr., you could beat him with one hand, blah, blah, blah. Did he do that? For me, unlikely, because Eddie Hearn, he thinks the world of Anthony Joshua, and I don't think he'd put him in any kind of danger if it was that bad. But ultimately, Joshua will make the decision. When Joshua's dad was going at Eddie Hearn, people heard when Andy Ruiz Jr. was being interviewed by DAZN, Joshua was holding his dad back and saying, no, Dad, it's me, I'm the fighter, it's my fault. If it is concussion, in other words, he made the decision. Maybe Eddie Hearn was going to pull the plug on it, but Anthony Joshua talked him out of it, because Joshua does have the final say to a certain point. But maybe his dad was blaming Eddie Hearn, saying, you shouldn't have made him make that decision. He was concussed, he couldn't think for himself. You should have done that. Ultimately, his team as well, okay, Rob McCracken, etc., etc. But Eddie Hearn, he had the power to pull the plug, but he didn't do it for whatever reason. Maybe Joshua talked Eddie Hearn out of it. Said, no, don't worry about it, it ain't too bad. But his dad needs somebody to blame. Maybe that was a reason. Who knows? Maybe. After the fight, in the post-fight press conference with him and Eddie Hearn, one of the reporters pressed Anthony Joshua saying, was you unwell going into that fight? Was there something wrong? Anthony Joshua, listen, I'm married, okay? I've got children. I get lied to on a daily basis. Sometimes I have to lie myself just to get through the day without getting some kind of abuse from them, right? Okay, so I know lies when I see them. Anthony Joshua, was there something wrong into this fight? Was you unwell? What happened? Joshua, no, everything was fine. It was my fault. It was my fault. It's all right, it's my fault. There was nothing wrong. Now, Joshua, he's not going to take any kind of shine away from Andy Ruiz. He doesn't want to do that, okay? He's not the kind of character to whip out a toe, is he? If that get injured. He's going to give Andy Ruiz all kinds of praise. Of course he is. But in addition to that, people were noticing as well that he didn't seem too bothered about the loss. Maybe because he knew he was concussed. Next time around, he knows not to be sparring in fight week and he will recover. So in other words, he'll be much better. So he knows he's going to get Andy Ruiz Jr. out of there in the rematch. He's fully confident of it. Maybe that's why. So anyway, a little food for thought for a lot of you guys. Now, the person who noticed this, or I would imagine there's more than just one, but one of them, Ben Davidson, Tyson Fury's trainer, he noticed it straight away. At what point did he notice it? I'm not too sure, because what you see on your screen right there with a face with the zip around the mouth, in other words, I'm not saying anything, with a picture of a brain, an emoji of the brain right next to it, would suggest concussion, would it not? Ben Davison has of course, removed that tweet since. Tyson Fury, after as well, was very, very sympathetic towards Anthony Joshua, wasn't he? Rather than blasting him. Tyson Fury recognised that he was concussed, maybe. So there you have it. There are plenty of other things as well, but for me, I think that a lot of things did point to him being concussed. Listen, people may turn around and go, right, okay, so Eddie Hearn, this was your fault. You put your own fighter in danger. Maybe that's what the haters are going to go with now. Who knows? But anyway, you drop your thoughts below about it. As I say, go have a little read of it yourself. You don't have to take my word for any of this whatsoever. But listen, it isn't too difficult to find out. You can find out everything that I did within just a space of a few minutes. So if you delve a little bit deeper into it, you'll find a whole bunch of Easter eggs. I'm sure you will. Anyway, drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up. And of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.